Hello, Belize.
Hi, Sam.
What are we watching?
We are watching Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
It's funny. I thought to myself as I asked you, I was like, oh, I wonder what she's gonna just say it as. Like, what is she gonna introduce the film as? But yes, it is the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella specifically. Well, do you know why they call it that?
Aside from the fact that they wrote it, I'm guessing because it wasn't specifically Disney, so they wanted it to be known.
Well, no. So it's not specifically Disney, A. B, it is an adaptation of the stage musical that Rodgers and Hammerstein's created. So it's not really like the Disney like Cinderella. It is specifically like that's why they have those iconic like in my own little corner. Oh, why would a fella ever want a girl like her? Blah, 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 you know what I mean? That aren't in the Disney versions of Cinderella. But now Disney owns it, right? It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly I don't know if they got it through Fox or like who they got it through that they now own the rights to it. But I think it's just like a distribution right. I don't think that means that like they can like make a movie with those songs suddenly. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so right now just it is on Disney Plus, but I don't know like through what deal of their many deals they got it. And then okay, so it's based off their musical. Did they work on the movie at all, or is it just based on their work?
So Rodgers and Hammerstein is dead. So, so actually, let me figure out when they died because I think they like are dead. Rodgers and Hammerstein.
This is not going how I thought it would.
That's just so funny to me that you said that.
I didn't look up anything about it, so
Let's find out when they died. So I'm not an idiot. Yeah, they died in the 60s. So, but they wrote the music, they made the music, they made a lot of iconic, like Disney-esque um, films and plays, I would say.
hmm.
But to me, when I thought about this movie, it reminded me of when you were telling me about how there was originally going to be a Beauty and the Beast. There was not a Disney Beauty and the Beast. And I thought to myself, oh, it's like the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what Warner Brothers was gonna do if they had like a musical aspect lined up or not. Because I know there's been versions of like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast without the music, but I think the music just makes it so much better. Like the best part about this one was the music.
Well, I actually, okay, that's a really good note to talk about. That is a great place to talk about first. So this was a first watch for you, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. The song Impossible sounded really familiar, so maybe I saw it when I was a little kid, but I didn't remember it. So
Well,
this was a first watch.
what it probably is that song has just become so iconic, and it was the pop. It was like the breakaway pop hit of the movie.
Yeah.
Like they use it literally. I don't know if you noticed in the opening credits, it says Rogers and Hammerstein's and Whitney Houston proudly present.
Ooh, I love that. I did not notice that.
So I didn't notice that either, and I'm an adult now, obviously. But like I saw this when it came out, literally 1997, and then like a couple times in my younger years. And it is exactly as I remembered it. It just like obviously I romanticized it in my brain, but that was like the breakaway like pop hit. So probably you hear it a lot in like Disney like playlists and stuff.
Right, exactly. That makes sense.
But what was your initial like right off the bat? Like, what was your first thought when you watched it? You're a grown ass woman watching this for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that I kept getting excited by, besides the musical numbers and everything, because I was like, oh my God, these are great. I really liked the way that I really liked the way that they portrayed Cinderella. And then also just separately, really quick, I loved all the casting. There was a lot of random actors that I was just like, whoa, you're in this. Like, I don't know his name, but when I saw George Costanza, I flipped out. I was like, oh my God. And he became like my favorite character. But there's a lot of like small actors besides the one you had already told me about that were in it that I was just like, wow, this is like a star-studded cast. Why does no one talk about this movie? At least from like for me, that's what I feel like no one talked about it until it actually became an option on Disney Plus, and then suddenly everyone was talking about it. And I was like, oh, why have I not heard of this? Why is no one like I don't know, but I loved the way that Cinderella was portrayed because I feel like I do want to get into it for a second. I feel like the thing about the complaints about princesses back in the day, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, I feel like the common complaint now is that like, oh, they like don't really do much. They don't have much of a personality, blah blah blah. And I think it's like similar to the complaint we have about Bella. Basically, it's the idea of like, oh, why isn't their personality bigger? Why is there no distinguishing factors? And the idea is that they were written that way, as we know, because the protagonists need to be more relatable so that everyone could feel like, oh, this could be me. It's like an everyman. The idea of Cinderella being like that is that she has this big dream that she wants to achieve. And it's the lesson of, follow your dreams. Doesn't matter who you are, you can achieve them. And that's been the lesson always. So she's never supposed to be like this particularly, I guess like, I don't want to say not even personable, but like big personality. But I did love that the little like notes that they did have with her, like I burst out laughing when the stepsisters asked her about their hats, and she like very nicely was like kind of like she was like, I don't really get hats, but I don't think this flatters either of you. And I just thought that was hilarious. So I think they had some fun moments with still like giving her those different lines, even though again she's still not supposed to be like a crazy big personality, but she was really relatable and really sweet. So I really liked the way that Cinderella was portrayed in this version.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. And I want to specifically highlight what you said about like the hat thing. I felt like in this version, so first of all, I love Brandy. I grew up watching like her show, which I think was Moesha. I can't remember exactly, but I would always just like call it the Brandy show. Um, and I grew up listening to her music. So I really like that she was cast as Cinderella because her in her show was kind of like a similar character trait of just like really soft spoken, very demure, like classy but sassy kind of a girl, which you don't really get nowadays very often because nowadays like we try to make our female protagonists like larger than life to kind of like undo all the years of this like quiet, soft spoken, the Jamie Sullivans, you know what I mean? But I liked that moment with the hat because I was like, wow, Cinderella's kind of passive aggressive. I was like, that was like rude. It doesn't suit either one of you. Like if we weren't watching Cinderella, we would be like, damn, that was like not, that was out of pocket. Okay, that was like inappropriate. But your comment about her being an everyman is so accurate, and it's also what it's funny. It's like the same concept that happens with it's the same concept that happens with like boy bands and songs like you don't know you're beautiful, that's why you're beautiful. You know what I mean? Like Bo Burnham has a really good joke song about it where he's like doing a boy band where he's like, I like that you have two eyes, I like that you have two hands that move when you walk, I like that your hair is this blue white it's like this blonde red yellowish color, and it's just like, anyone could be this girl, so you can like identify with it and sing to it and enjoy. But so yeah, I fuck with that. I think it's funny that like that we do that to like live out a fantasy, that we do that so that the audience is able to like insert themselves into this fantasy. Question to you, but did you like the acting of Brandy as Cinderella?
Yeah, I personally did. I really liked the way you asked that makes me wonder if you did not for some reason. So I'm like, so suddenly I'm like, I thought there was, I loved the acting all around. There wasn't anyone that, but I really liked the way that she, it was different for me too from the Cinderellas I've seen. So I really liked her. And yeah, like I had said earlier, George Costanza's character, which I can't even name, was like one of my favorite ones. So what does that say? But I don't know. But yeah, it didn't rub me the wrong way. It's something about it.
It's not that it rubbed me the wrong way. It's like, okay, you gotta remember, like I prefaced by saying I really like Brandy. I liked her show. I like her. But I forgot like how good the actors are in this movie. Like the stepsisters are hilarious. Bernadette Peters is the stepmother, icon of the Broadway stage. Whitney fucking Houston is up in here as the godmother, and I forgot how much I used to simp for the prince. Like I really like I think he might have been the blueprint. Like, oh my god. But so I just felt that because everyone else, or Whoopi Goldberg, too, I'm being rude right now. Whoopi Goldberg and the king, whose name is escaping me, but he is also famous, like in George Costanza. This is a crazy cast. And so because they were all so natural in their approach to their characters, even when they were being a little larger than life, like even when Whoopi would have her like, you know what I mean? It just kind of bumped me whenever we'd get to Brandy because I felt like she was trying to be Cinderella when I kind of wish that she had just like let loose a little bit and just been like Brandy. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah. I get why you say that, because it's like if everyone's like seasoned actors around her, then of course it's kind of difficult. I will also say that like I didn't personally find a problem, but yeah, she like it didn't stand out to me, but it didn't feel like she was like trying for me either. Like it felt natural for me. But I will say that it's probably also because like I liked like when she did have those fun lines, I loved it. Like the hat line and stuff like that. I don't think she got many of those fun lines. I wonder if she had more of those fun lines that were more like the characters she's played before, if she would be able to like maybe that's why it also felt like weird to her for some of those lines, maybe. But I don't know. So I'm wondering if it's like also a script thing that's that you're mentioning. But yeah, I will agree with you that like there was a lot of really star-side cast. That must have been intimidating as heck. Like, I don't know how you do that at all.
Imagine like rolling up to set and it's like, oh, but she was famous too, so she could hold the whole cast is amazing. But I will say, I have to back you up and say you're right. It goes back to your earlier point of like they didn't give Cinderella a lot of those like moments or beats, you know? As a person, I have a question to you. As a person who we talk often about like, the Prince Charming of these movies. As a person who is, in my opinion, like a Disney connoisseur, what are your thoughts on this rendition of the Prince?
Well, I mean, I'll put it hand in hand with I love that it was just like blind casting in terms of like his parents, her step parents, like basically anyone was anyone and it did not matter. And I thought he was really cute. I really liked the casting for it. I don't think I've seen him in anything else, so I don't know what in terms of his career, but I think he did a great job, and I did really like the idea of them like meeting ahead of time before the ball as well. They did manage to give this prince a bit more personality because of all the princes, Prince Charming's not got the best rep for just kind of like showing up, not recognizing the face of the girl, and then going around with a shoe to every girl in the ball. But so I think they did a good job of actually making. It felt a little Aladdin-esque at first too, when they had him in the beginning and they met and he was pretending to be like Prince Jasmine was in Aladdin. So I thought that was really fun as well.
Do you think they maybe like added that in because of the popularity of Aladdin? Because like think about the time period this is made, the 90s. Do you think maybe they wanted to like, give a bit of a meet cute beforehand? Because one of the things I like about this Prince is that it feels a little bit like they're making fun, but in the nicest of ways. Like how he's like, I just want someone I can talk to. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, you know what I wish? And she's like, I think that people make wishes when they just are like too scared to just do it. You know what I mean? Or when they're like, they have that song at the ball where he's like, where the literal song is like, do I love you or are you just beautiful? Am I putting on to you what I wish that you were rather than like seeing who you are and loving you from there? And so I like the fact that they like they built chemistry throughout this film because overall like Cinderella is a very quick story and this is a very fast-paced movie. It's an hour and a half and the majority of it takes place at the ball, you know.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I was honestly, I was expecting it to be 2 hours. When I saw it was an hour and a half, I was like, oh wow, okay. Like, but yeah, no, that's very true. I think they did with his songs, with the few scenes that he had, they did a good job of characterizing him and actually giving him more of a personality than we're used to. He's still like the everyman-ish, but he actually like isn't just this person just like I don't know if you guys remember like so my easiest comparison is the Disney like animated Cinderella. The few times we don't see like we see the prince's family like the father a bit and the father telling him what to do while like jumping on a bed and all this crazy cartoon antics, but the main scene I remember of the prince is him like staring at the ball and the women like this and yawning and like that was like his big thing. And and it's just like he looks like an ass. Like they don't, you know what I mean? Like they characterize him later on in the sequels because those are direct-to-DVD sequels. But anyway, so I really liked that with this. Oh, they're good, but like no one sees them because they're direct-to-DVD. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. I love the second one.
Well, the sequels for me, and it's like such an unpopular opinion, and it's gonna be so random, but I've said it multiple times in my life. I think the Cinderella sequels are some of the best movies that came out of Disney. Like they really characterized everyone. They made me like Prince Charming and Cinderella more because they make them like sovereigns. You know what I mean? But going back to, just really quickly go back to what you said about diversity. This movie came out when I was a kid, so I just was like super normal with the idea of like, okay, yes, we're gonna have a Black woman as Cinderella. That makes complete sense. Why wouldn't it be? She actually does fit the role perfectly. Like her being and her singing is like perfect for Cinderella, and she's fucking beautiful. Like she's literally a Disney princess beautiful. So when the thing came out, we're like Disney. I think Disney was either considering casting a Black woman, the same thing, like a musical artist to be Ariel. I don't know if they did, if they like confirmed it or not.
I'm not sure. I think they did, but I'm not positive, so I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, but when that came out, and they were basically when the concept was rolling around of casting, I think they were doing the same damn thing because I think it's from it's one of the girls from like Chloe and Halle or something like that. And so she's famous and she's a singer and she's gorgeous and she would fit the vibe of Ariel. And when people are having a little hissy fit, I was like, are we for real right now? Are we gonna act like the Brandy Cinderella doesn't exist and doesn't wipe the floor with every Cinderella? Like, excuse me? Like,
yeah, it's agreed. Like and that's one of those things where it's so upsetting because it's one of those things where I always feel like, come on, Hollywood, do better. And then I look at how Hollywood is received when it tries, and I'm like, well, this is why they can't do better or invest in those things. It's still an excuse on their end, but if this is how it's going to be received when they do try, I'm like, come on, like America. Yeah, so I really liked when the stepmother was actually talking to them. I think it was in the form of song about just the idea of like capturing the prince and kind of just like tricking him into into marriage, and like how to just like not show any, like, you know what I mean, like red flags or anything like that. Like you have to like appear in a way that you don't normally appear just to like entice him at first. And that just, that whole concept was really fun to me because I feel like it's this, it's, I don't even know why it was so funny to me other than that she did a great job portraying it, and also because I feel like no other version of Cinderella I've seen have they been as blunt about that being what their goal is. She literally is just teaching her children, and she's like, no, I'm ashamed of you, you should be ashamed of yourselves, let's hide these parts and just show the good parts. And it's like a toxic thing that women are taught, and I loved that that was shown.
me fucking too. And I have to ask you, do you like the Ursula bit where Ursula is talking to Ariel and she's like telling her how to get a man in the human world? Because when she's like convincing her to lose her voice, because that beat with Bernadette Peters, it exactly like what you said, it just feels like this toxic thing that women are taught where it's like hide your flaws until after the wedding. And it reminded me of Ursula being like, you don't need a voice, it's all about body language, you know? And it's not glamorizing it, it's making fun of it. And I think that's what's the important part. And just like the way that the tax that the in which the women are like trying to like, I will batter my eyes and then I will curtsy and then I will bet my eyes. And I don't know. I love that. I love the whole concept, but more than anything, I really like that you pointed that out and that you picked up on that. Like the concept of just like, we're literally taught to pretend to be these carbon copies of like, what exactly? Like, don't have a personality. Keep your personality. Like Calliope. No, it wasn't Calliope. The other sister. When she was like, "I'm gonna read him a poem," and they're all like, "What?" And she's like, "What's wrong with a poem?" And I was just like, "Oh, maybe, maybe not at the ball, but like, you have a personality. I like you." May I ask you a question,
Yeah.
or just an observation that I would like to share? I would like to revel in this because of the cast they had, because of like it just felt very theatrical. It felt like the most theatrical film I had seen in years. It felt like really high budget high school theater in like the nicest way. Um and it made me, it's kind of how a little bit how I felt when I watched the opening 10 minutes of Aladdin, like the live action, except I didn't like the live action of Aladdin. I was like, oh, this feels like high school theater in a bad way. Whereas this performance felt like I was watching a taped recording of Broadway. Like it felt like it had like it had like this authenticity to it in terms of the dancing, in terms of the choreography, the costumes, the acting that you don't really get in movies nowadays. And I think we got it because it was marketed to a younger audience. But I don't know. I think that for me, this is one of the reasons why this movie is like a classic. It just has this like really specific tone that I haven't seen replicated.
Yeah, no, agreed for sure. I love seeing anything like that as well. Like I think that it's really fun when we do capture the, because the thing that's so difficult sometimes I feel is that like with theater there's kind of like you go there and there's the expectation of suspension of disbelief, like you know what I mean. And I feel like sometimes with movies we don't get granted that permission in the same way, or I don't grant it in the same way I do if I go to a theater. But I really do like when it is similar to how it would have been on stage, because first of all, right now I miss the theater terribly. I really, really do. And so anything like remotely close to that, I always long to have had it on a bigger screen. I'm glad I watched this on my TV instead of my laptop, you know what I mean? But it definitely was, it's just one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Just because it does feel like you're actually, yeah, there and part of it and you're just in it. And yeah, it's just production design, costumes, like everything is just done in a way where it just feels like you're actually like a recording of a theater show as opposed to just like a direct movie. That's a great observation. Yeah, I think that definitely helped overall in the vibe of me immediately really, really getting into it.
So what would you change?
I don't know. The only thing I would change would be changing up the script. So I wouldn't want to change it because I'm like, to me, the only thing was I loved the little bits that Cinderella and the prince had. I would have wanted to see more of it. I like seeing the actual couple so that I can like be more invested in their relationship. Otherwise, I feel like I'm invested in Cinderella and her dream, and like the guy happens to be cute, which is a bonus. But that's like more of a script change. So in terms of like non-script changes, I don't have any changes. The casting was great. The costumes, everything looked amazing, and yeah.
Me too. To be completely fair with you, I think I wouldn't want to add anything. I like what you said before about Cinderella, where it's like that is who the character is. You know, we're not trying to change what that like, we're not trying to change that fairy tale. She is a demure, sweet, like little like she literally like, you know, she's just at home cleaning all day and her life sucks. You know, like that's it. So I don't want to, I don't, though I do personally love protagonists that are feisty and full of grit and like tell it like it is, I think that's not always the that's not always the reality of a lot of people, men, women, non-binary. And I think every once in a while it's nice to get the perspective of someone that's just a little softer, or just, you know, just want something nice and happy. Like they don't want to change the world. They just want to leave their house and find a nice partner. And so I wouldn't want to change it. I wouldn't want to modernize it.
So what would you rate it?
Give it a 6, 6.5.
Okay, okay, dope. Yeah, I'm gonna say 7. I think we just finished February.
I think we finished February.
Wow.
I really liked this. And what's it's funny is that like I really liked this month because I realized something. I realized something that I had thought about before the month had begun, where I was like, where are the male heartthrobs? Where are the black male heartthrobs? Where are the black female protagonists who want to find love or falling out of love or getting heartbroken? Where are they? Because I know they're getting made. I just don't know of them. It's just my own pure ignorance. And then I thought to myself, well, first of all, I would like to expand upon that. And then I started watching things online and I was like, hold the fucking phone. Where are all the Latinos too? Like, where is the Latino heartthrob? And no, I'm not talking about like my great grandpa's from Mexico. I'm talking like, or I'm talking about like, where is my like water for chocolates? You know what I mean? Where it is just the story of two people and they're falling in love and they're not white or they're not speaking English, you know? I know they're out there and I just want to stop being ignorant towards them because I do pride myself in being a cinephile. And so I would like to expand on what that definition would be.
I think it's going to be a fun challenge for us in general. It's just to like through the different themes that we have, make sure that we're also trying to do our best. And I think that it's the difficulty of it is that we try to pick movies that we know will fit the theme. So it's usually from the repertoire that one of us has seen before. We very rarely do the blind picks. This month had a lot of blind picks because there happened to be movies that fit the theme that we had both not seen. And there's still movies like I still want to show you Last Holiday. That one's a great one. With maybe not romance isn't as much the forefront, but there is a romance aspect. So maybe just like without the podcast, I'll show you that one because that one's just a great message overall. But yeah.
So our theme for March is going to be princesses.
So our first one is going to be Princess Diaries. Miracles happen once in a while. I'm so excited.
March, princesses, fun times.
Yes, and we've already been getting a few comments on our video that we announced with starting to watch movies with you guys. So definitely go check that video out and drop a comment. We'll probably, I think we want to start doing those once Sam is actually here. Is going to be the idea. So then it's like us on one camera and you guys on the other camera. But we will hit you up for sure. So please keep commenting on that.
Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Sam.
I'm Belize.
This has been Heartbreaker Films.
See you next week.